It's Monday, June 15, 2020. Digital Trends Live is about to start. Here's some of the topics we're covering on today's episode of the show. Amazon has certainly seen a huge growth over the last few months of online shopping, but new scrutiny is being brought from multiple investigations over how it deals with third-party sellers. We'll also be joined by Lisa Marie Segarra, our gaming editor here at Digital Trends, to talk about the PS5 announcements and her hands-on review of the upcoming Last of Us 2. And with the lack of live sports, it's time to take a look back at a different age of baseball. We'll be joined by Schnack, the director of the ESPN 30 for 30 documentary, Long Gone Summer. Plus, it's Monday, which means our own Drew Prindle will be joining for another edition of Awesome Tech You Can't Buy Yet, featuring crowdfunding campaigns like the GoGo All-in-One Dog Leash. All of that and more on today's episode of Digital Trends Live. Hello, everyone. This is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Again, thank you for joining us wherever you are. We appreciate it. We broadcast live here every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you trending tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions, and so much more across a number of different platforms. And thanks for joining us on whatever platform you are on. Dropping your comments, your questions as we go throughout the show. And let's start it off with keeping you up to date with what is going on in the world of technology as far as what's trending right now. And first off, we have to talk about Amazon. Definitely a lot of people shopping and selling on Amazon right now as we're in the middle of a pandemic and the way things have changed. Certainly, a lot of people already were shopping on there, but now even more so. But scrutiny is coming to Amazon once again, and this time with a couple of different investigations that are happening over how they handle third-party sellers on their platform. So naturally, Amazon's got its own products on there. We're all familiar with those, but there are also a number of third-party sellers. But these investigations are alleging that they are favoring their own products over third-party products, and it comes to this issue of both being the platform for things to sell on, but also being the seller at the same time, and how that works out when it comes to antitrust probes that are happening right now. So California and Washington have launched these or are gearing up to launch these inquiries into this about whether or not some allegations are true. One of the allegations is that Amazon would take a look at sales data to see what was selling on its platform, and if they didn't have a product that matched that, they would then develop one to match it, and whether or not that is violating a number of different commerce laws. So there's a lot that goes into this. This is a Department of Justice investigation as well that's going to be happening. So a lot of investigations going on, really, when it comes down to it, what's happening with Amazon. So this is a developing story. We'll have to see how that shakes out, how that affects how most of us shop on there, and that's certainly something that does come down to it. It affects a lot of shoppers, and of course, it affects a lot of third-party sellers. So we'll see what the results are from that. Just keeping you up to date with that. Continuing on here with our trending news, let's talk about WhatsApp. WhatsApp has 2 billion users worldwide, and right now, Facebook has rolled out a new way to send payments via WhatsApp, and this is rolling out to Brazil first, but it's something that we're going to be seeing most likely other places as well, according to Facebook. So this goes on the heels of months and months of talks and trials that WhatsApp has been doing to try to get this thing out there. They've been testing it in India a lot, but it's essentially using the Facebook Play platform and bringing it over to WhatsApp, but they're really making an emphasis on small businesses as a way for small businesses to take payment and as a way to pay them for goods and services. And with that, the way it's going to work is you're going to be able to have shops on WhatsApp, and then you can send payment directly to these stores. You can send it directly to friends or family or wherever else you want to send payments through it, and it's all going to be encrypted from end to end. And it's one more example of Facebook as a whole trying to figure out different ways to monetize and utilize these services and figure out ways to pay. Now, naturally, we know Libra, their cryptocurrency, isn't going forward as of right now. A lot of problems with that, but this is another way that they can get into that business of sending payments. Now, the payments you wouldn't be charged for them. According to this, it would be free for the individual users. However, businesses would pay a percentage or some kind of payment on those charges. But that is what they're doing. It's pretty simple to set up. It's rolling out, again, just to Brazil first. So this isn't something you're going to see here, but it's showcasing another example of how they're trying to utilize that platform. So take a look at that at digitaltrends.com. We've got a full breakdown of how it works and what it could mean to you. Something else from Facebook is that they have announced the results of their first deepfake detection challenge. Deepfakes. Remember when those were a pretty big deal? Well, they still are. The news cycle has kind of been overtaken by a few other things, but deepfakes are an issue, especially coming up with the associated election here this year. And the big concern is that people are going to deep fake political candidates, and this goes far beyond that, but that's a big concern this year. So they had this competition where they put out a whole lot of video where people then would be able to analyze it and submit their algorithms to see if they can detect the deep fakes. So what you're seeing right there is an example they put up. Some of those are deep fakes, and there you go. So deep fakes are getting very good. It's very hard to tell by the human eye, but it turns out the algorithms are able to tell it pretty quickly for now, depending on what it is. It's not the most reliable. So the winning algorithm was able to spot challenging real-world examples with an average accuracy of 65.18%. Now that's not a great percentage when you're looking for something to automatically find deep fakes, but that is better than, quite honestly, nothing. So this is what the challenge was. So that was the winner for that. Now Facebook says they have their own algorithm that's doing this with a higher percentage, but they're looking for more help in doing this. And of course, I think many organizations are going to try to figure out how to mitigate some of the concerns of deep fakes, but that is one that's happening right now. You can see the results. They've actually got all the details about it. It's some pretty interesting video that was put up with this on how they went about doing this. They had 3,000 different actors acting in different videos, and then they would deep fake some of those. But all the results are there now. You can read that at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on here with our trending news, here's something else that you're going to be able to do at home soon. Now, we all know that autonomous vehicles are something that have been utilized and are being tested a lot around the country, around the world, but you don't always know where and what's being tested. Well, that is what the TSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, is unveiling today as a way to help you understand this. This is called the Automated Vehicle Transparency and Engagement for Safe Testing. So that's the name of the website. That's a whole lot that just put on there, but really it comes down to AV test. So what it will do, when this rolls out, right now they've got a pretty robust website there where you can learn more about how autonomous vehicles work, what kind of testing is going on, or what really the terminology even means if you want a crash course in it. But coming soon, they're going to have an interactive website where you can type in your location. It'll tell you what your state is doing, tell you what's being tested in your area, what kinds of things are being tested in your area, and talk about some of the data that has been collected from those. So that's one of the other big things. They've got partnerships going with a number of automakers, so Chrysler, Toyota, GM, Uber, Waymo, Nuro, a bunch of different ones are working with this. And so far the states are California, Florida, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Texas, places where there's a lot of testing going on. And then you'll be able to go to this website and find out what's going on in your area and be a little bit more educated about it as the testing continues on. Eventually, we're going to start seeing regulations happen, and we will see these more and more on the road. And there are some on the road already. You can read about those at digitaltrends.com. Final trending, a couple more trending things here. Just really quick, we do have this from EA. They have announced that a new Star Wars game is on the way. This has been rumored for a long time, something that we were expecting for a while, but Star Wars Squadrons, we got a teaser trailer for it. We didn't get the actual in-game footage yet. That's going to be coming probably later on this week. That is on June 18th at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. There's the EA Play Live event where they'll probably be showcasing some of the gameplay from this, but it's pretty cool. If you wanted this kind of action from a Star Wars game, you get to fly all of them: X-Wing, A-Wing, Y-Wing, U-Wing, TIE Fighter, TIE Interceptor, TIE Bomber, and TIE Reaper Fighters. Those are the ones that they showcased so far, and you get to fight some other people, so it's pretty fun. And that is what's going to be coming out. It's going to be cross-platform as well, so it's got Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC. It's going to be coming out, I believe, in October 2nd for $39.99, but we'll see more about that coming up later this week. Still, that looks pretty fun. And final trending story is this, and it's a trending story because I have to remind people that it's not true. And this comes from KFC. This one's kind of a fun one. KFC has not shied away from showcasing ridiculous technology before, and now with PlayStation 5 being announced last week and going against Xbox One, they released a video of the KFC gaming console, and it's called the KF console, if you will. And that was debuted on social media last week. They've got a video of it. It has a chicken chamber, allegedly, where you can place your chicken in it, and it's got a glowing hot chamber for that. So that is the video they put out. It is not real. You cannot get a KF console, but they did get already Microsoft and Xbox chiming in, commenting on it, and there it is. That is the KF console. It is not real, though. That is something that a lot of people were speculating was real. It's not, but there it is. Pretty clever nonetheless. All right, and you can read more about that at digitaltrends.com.
Hey, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. It's now time for the product of the day.
Our product of the day is the LG 70-inch LED 4K Ultra HD HDR Smart TV. That's a whole lot I just said there, but it's a 70-inch television is what we're talking about, and this is the one with all the stuff. 4K HDR. HDR is something, if you're going to be buying a new television, highly suggest that you get HDR. And if you're unfamiliar with that, you can take a look at digitaltrends.com and find out some more info on it. This one, there we are showcasing it right there in our own, back when we were going into the studio, in our own audio studio. And when it comes to this one, like I said, it's got the HD, it's got the backlit LCD style, 4K UHD, it's got 3 ports, it's got 60 hertz refresh rate, it's got Wi-Fi and all of that stuff built into it, Bluetooth, 16:9, 4K upscaling, so if you don't have something that's 4K, you can upscale it to 2 speakers. It's Alexa ready, it's Google Assistant ready, it's got pretty much everything that you could think of when it comes to a television, and it's on sale right now for a really good deal. So it's normally $1,000.99, so $1,100. It's on sale right now for $799, $800. So that's a pretty good savings that you're getting there, about $300 off. And you can take advantage of the deal by clicking on that link below me, or whatever platform you're watching me on. There's a link there, or you can type in the link that's being shown right there on the screen and go there, take a look at the specs, take a look at what it has to offer, but definitely a good deal if you're looking for a new television to check out right there. All right, continuing on here with Digital Trends Live, we've got a lot coming up on this show, but up next, we've got Lisa Marie Segarra, our gaming editor, who's going to join us to talk about the PlayStation 5, kind of go through some of the announcements that they made, talk about what that means, and also Last of Us 2 is coming out this week. She's played it. We're going to have a review of that. So, spoiler free, but that's coming up next. Stick around, back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler again. Thank you for joining us wherever you are. We appreciate it. We get to talk about all kinds of technology here and keep you up to date on everything, and that includes the world of gaming. That's what we're going to do right now. We've got joining us Lisa Marie Segarra. There's so much to talk about, but I think I want to hear about the PlayStation 5 to start off with. Hi, Lisa Marie. Good to see you. And yeah, the PlayStation 5, finally getting to see it. I want to know your reaction, what you think of it, how you feel about this new console.
Yeah, I feel like you have been asking me about the PS5 for a while, so I'm happy I can finally give you some info. We did just have the reveal event last week. It was really exciting. So this was the first time we actually got to see the console, which is kind of mind-blowing considering that it's coming out this holiday season. It's kind of very futuristic, black and white with the blue lighting design. It's very controversial. I personally like it. Not everyone does, and there were questions about whether it can lay flat. We have learned that it can, but let's get into the nitty gritty and what it can actually do, which realistically is the most important thing. It's got 4K Ultra HD, it's Blu-ray, and it's actually coming out with a digital only edition. Now, this is a first, especially on launch. And Microsoft Lockhart is this rumor that Microsoft Series X would do the same thing, but PlayStation ended up doing it first. So that kind of happens when you play chicken with each other. It also has a lot of other details. It's got ray tracing, and this is one of the biggest new things that we're looking at in gaming, not just for consoles. The Series X is talking about it, PS5, but also a lot of PC gamers are looking for that in their graphics cards as well. It just will make your detailing and shadows and lighting look so much better. And that's the kind of realism and details that we're really looking for in 2020 gaming, and we've come so far. It's really exciting. The controller also has haptic feedback and adaptive triggers. So this is also something that we've seen with the Switch. Also has some more haptic feedback and better, response in terms of what you can feel and how that changes. And adaptive triggers we also saw on the Elite controller for the Xbox One. So basically, you can kind of change how much you will pull down and how that feels. The difference here is that it's not the dual shock this time, it's the dual sense will actually change automatically if you are shooting with the bow and arrow in game versus a machine gun. Normally those would in real life feel very different, and now we're going to actually get that feeling when we're playing as well. Now, a really important thing that we don't know still is the price. And especially considering that there's a digital only edition, many people are also speculating that maybe that means the regular base console will be much more expensive, and the digital only version will offer a much cheaper price point for people who can't afford that because it's too much. And that was a really big issue with the PS3, so maybe they're learning from their mistakes there, but we don't know. Maybe that won't be the case. And with anything, there are some funny memes, especially with the new look. Anytime you do something different, you're gonna get some looks about it. We also got some new games. We have Miles Morales as Spider-Man, which we saw from the movie and being translated, which was super successful. So it's really exciting to see the Spider-Verse adaptation. And now people were really excited after seeing it at the reveal event. But following that, there has been so much back and forth between it's a sequel or it's an expansion or it's a standalone game. And basically, they likened it to Uncharted The Lost Legacy, which was at first going to be DLC for Uncharted 4, and they just expanded it into its own standalone game. So it's going to be kind of like Spider-Man 1.5. It's not a full sequel, but it is its own game, which is important to consider. Also, we're getting GTA 5 again. It is now on 3 different consoles. It first launched on Xbox 360 and PS3, which is crazy. Naturally, people are upset that we don't have GTA 6, but the success of this game is truly incredible. Some other games that we're getting, Horizon Forbidden West, we're getting NBA 2K21. We saw some footage about that. It wasn't surprising, but getting to see it was exciting. We have Ratchet and Clank, which people actually said looked amazing. And this was also a great example of what the reveal did. It didn't just show off the games, it showed what it can do. And a lot of the gameplay in the Ratchet and Clank demo showed how powerful it really is and how it can switch between worlds very easily. So that was very impressive. We're getting Resident Evil Village, which is really exciting. We just had the Resident Evil 3 remake, so great timing and follow-up. Demon Souls, but we don't have to wait for the PS5 for new games. And I really, really, really want to talk about The Last of Us Part 2, which we're getting on the PS4 very soon.
So, yeah, tell us about this. You've gotten to play it, right?
I have. And our review is up. It's actually the first out of 10 we've given since 2018. Uh, we don't give them a lot here at DT. And while I was playing, I was thinking, man, I think this is a 10 out of 10 game. And so, yeah, I gave it 5 stars. It's amazing. I really would love for people to check out the review. Um, and see what I'm talking about. Now, many people have spoken about this, other reviewers, we were limited in what we can talk about, but I will say that the story is just really well done. There are so many twists and turns, and just watching the story unfold was really beautiful. It's very, very dark. It can get very gruesome at times, and I'm not always super into that, but I did think that the payoff was worth it in gameplay and story and watching it just happen. And also sometimes, taking part in this game, but not actually being able to change what the characters do and having to actually be part of it. You're pressing the buttons to make them do these things, you're taking them on this journey, is something that makes video games shine. We hear a lot of talk about video games versus movies, and I think that's one place where gaming is its own thing, and that is something that's a very powerful experience that is completely unique to gaming. And I thought it was just really well done, and it looks fantastic. I was playing on a base PS4, not the PS4 Pro, but it just looked so darn good. And the other thing I want to address, I don't want to mention any spoilers, but I did look at them after I, submitted my review. And all I want to say is if you've seen spoilers, I really encourage you to just play the game. I think that it is just an experience worth having and playing. And that is my message to anyone who liked the first one or is just a big gaming fan. It's really excellent. I was very satisfied. No spoilers, but just go out and play it, man.
Okay, now I've got to get. I mean, I love the first one. It took me a long time to play that first one, but the story is so good. And yeah, if you're giving it 5 stars, Last of Us Part Two, and that review's up at Digital Trends too, so everybody can go there, take a look at it, read what she's talking about, and yeah, I can't wait to get it. This may be one of the first games I get like right when it comes out in a long time. I may do that, which is a big deal for me. But Last of Us Part 2, review up right there. Everything about the PlayStation 5 as well. And as always, Lisa Marie, thank you so much for being here with us.
Yeah, thank you. And let me know what you think when you finally play it.
Yep. Oh, definitely. Lisa Marie Segarra right here at Digital Trends Live. So again, Last of Us Part 2, that review is up right now. Go there, take a look at it. A lot of exciting news always happening in gaming, and she's got you up to date on everything. So check it out all right there. All right, continuing on here with the show. We have more fun stuff to talk about. Now, naturally, there's no live sports going on, but that makes documentaries about sports even better than they already would have been. And that's what we're talking about next. We've got the director of ESPN's 30 for 30 documentary, Long Gone Summer. It's about the McGuire and Sosa battle. AJ Schnack, he's going to be joining us next. Stick around, back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Well, everyone, this is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and again, thank you for joining us wherever you are. We appreciate it. We broadcast live here every weekday, but certainly something we haven't been seeing a lot of are live sports. But that makes it all the better to talk about an incredible documentary back when sports did happen and a very big moment in baseball. Joining us right now to talk about the newest ESPN 30 for 30 documentary, Long Gone Summer, we have AJ Schnack joining us. AJ, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you being a part of the show today.
Thanks for having me.
I, in particular, remember this battle very well when it was going on. It captured the attention of so many people. But for people out there who maybe missed this when it happened, or it came before their time, can you set the stage for what this documentary is about?
Sure. So in 1998, starting at the very beginning of the season, which was incredibly unusual, there was this expectation that 37-year-old record for the most home runs in a regular single season, that record, which had been set by Roger Maris at 61 home runs, that was going to fall. And people were looking to either Ken Griffey Jr. of the Mariners or Mark McGwire of the St. Louis Cardinals to be the one who was going to be able to do it. And it was unusual because most of the time these kinds of expectations that maybe the record would fall, they don't come until about the midway part of the season after the All-Star break. But for a variety of reasons, including that it was an expansion year and some of the ballparks had been changed to make them more friendly to hitters, people went into spring training that year really believing that this was going to be the year that one of these guys was going to break the record. What they didn't expect was that a member of the Chicago Cubs, Sammy Sosa, who had been a good home run hitter in his career, but maybe not very patient at the plate, that he would come in and actually be the one that would challenge McGwire. And that battle between these two individuals from rival teams in the same division really not only was a big baseball story, it ended up being like a huge cultural story in the entire country. It was bigger than sports by the time they really started threatening the Maris record in early September.
And that's a great way of explaining it right there, just how big a deal that was. Like, it transcended sports when this was happening. Looking at making this documentary, going back, after all these years, what were some of the biggest challenges you had in putting this together and maybe even getting commentary from everybody?
Well, first of all, Mark and Sammy are both sort of notorious recently that they haven't done a lot of interviews. Mark, does some short interviews, and he had gone back into baseball as a coach, so he had done some short interviews with some local stations and some national outlets, but nothing in depth. Sammy had been super press friendly back in the late 90s, early aughts, but in more recent days, he hadn't been talking to the press a lot. So we had this kind of interesting thing right from the start, was how do you get these two guys to do a film about this time in their lives when they're not doing a lot of interviews, particularly when they both knew that we would end up dealing with the steroid era and what was going on in baseball at the time. So that was one of the challenges, was just getting them both on board, and that took over a year kind of work.
Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, with the, in hindsight, all the controversy that came out of that, and just like you said, that entire era, not just them, but certainly those two being two of the big ones. With that, thinking about it in this standpoint, as you've gone back and watched all the coverage then, how different do you think a race like that would be covered today in the area of social media and all the technology we have versus back then?
Well, I mean, I guess first of all, the question would be, whether we wouldn't have a situation probably where we expected it from the very beginning of the season. I'm in LA, I'm a Dodgers fan. You watched what Bellinger was doing last year. And there was certainly some people who were like, wow, I mean, he's hitting a lot of home runs through the All-Star break, does he have a chance? I think people still wonder, is someone going to get to 62 again? I think 62 still has some resonance for a lot of baseball fans. But he fell off, as many players do in August, because it gets a lot harder to kind of hold yourself together over the long course of a season. So, I don't know that we would see something certainly from the beginning of the year. I think it took something special about the fact that this was in the midst of a Cardinal-Cubs rivalry, that these were rival teams. They were both in the Midwest. They were going to be playing each other down the stretch. These two individuals, McGwire and Sosa, were very different personalities. came from different backgrounds, different races. They both seemed to love the game and each other, respecting the history of the Maris record. There were a lot of elements, I think, that went into it. And the fact that we, had, not phones in our pockets. We weren't tweeting nonstop during the race. We weren't trying to film it for Instagram. We weren't wondering what was going on Netflix. The focus of the country really was on that moment, and it wasn't too divided.
Something I wanted to ask you, and I've got some specific baseball questions actually that we've got here that we wanted to ask you as well. But before we do that, I wanted to just, say this is, I'm sure, something you've been working on for quite a long time, creating this. No idea the pandemic was going to be happening when that just pops up out of nowhere. So for you, with all these different films and documentaries that you've released and created, what is it like this time around? Like, how challenging is it releasing this during the middle of this pandemic?
Yeah, super weird and hard. I was with my composer in Chicago when we found out that the South by Southwest Film Festival was going to cancel. And that to me was like, okay, well, this is either the harbinger of everything shutting down, or it's this incredibly weird anomaly, obviously it was the harbinger. And I think that, we got back into we were still finishing the edit of the film at that point. So to have to finish the edit and then do all of the post-production stuff, which you're so used to being, with your collaborators in the same room, doing the sound, doing the color, having everyone in the room while you're getting to picture lock, the last, decisions you're making on the content of the film. To have lost that and to have to figure out all this various forms of new tech, maybe they weren't new, they were new to me, technology that allowed you to share screens in a very specific way that you could actually see the color work being done somewhere else, see the sound mix happening, so that you could actually look at the lines and make specific adjustments. It made everything much more difficult to do, and probably took our process, probably doubled the time of our process, just because we weren't able to be, right next to each other.
Looking at this, going forward, obviously we don't know how long this is going to last, but talking about baseball in general, do you think that we're going to see a season this year?
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of think we'll have to see some games. This last round is a little bit confusing to me. I certainly, I don't envy anybody trying to figure out this thing in this moment. It's how you do it safely, not just for, the players, but, everybody else around, that has to be there when you're doing a game. The teams are still going to need their trainers. They're going to need, media to call the games to get some kind of, revenue from people being able to watch and enjoy. It's going to be a huge challenge. And so I certainly understand. I kind of, when they first were saying like, we're going to be back in June playing games, or we'll be back by the All-Star break playing games, that seemed really crazy to me. I didn't know how that was possible. It just didn't seem like they would be able to figure out all the logistics by then and get everybody to sign off on it. But hopefully, I love baseball. The weirdest thing I think is probably I got to spend so much time around baseball last year. I was looking forward to all winter long. I was like, I can't wait to get back to the game, and I'm going to go to so many Dodger games this year. And so yeah, that's been weird, just this kind of side element, not being able to enjoy baseball the way I did last year while making the film.
I do have one question from a producer, and I know that I've got to wrap it up, and I appreciate your time for this.
No worries.
Okay, here's his question. Say there's a home run race for 71 in today's game, which is the record now, Barry Bonds. Who are the players you would want to see going back and forth like we saw with McGwire and Sosa in '98?
That's a really good question. I'll take a little bit of a sidetrack off of that question. I kind of wish, I would want to see what Griffey would do if he was at his prime right now. We know the ball is stitched a bit tighter. So, I think everyone kind of believes that Griffey, wasn't juicing during that era, that he was, I think as people saw in the film last night, he had one of the sweetest swings going. So to be able to kind of look at him, and see what he would be able to do right now, I think would be pretty thrilling. I think that to me is the most exciting. But again, as a Dodger fan, I'd love to see Bellinger make a run for it. And I guess you'd have to want to put him up against somebody on the Giants in order to create that kind of rivalry. But in true Sosa fashion, maybe it's somebody that we wouldn't expect to be the one who would come out of nowhere and be challenging the record with him.
That would be interesting. I grew up in the Northwest, so I'm a hardcore Griffey Jr. fan for life. So definitely, I would like to see that happen. But looking at this, I want to let everybody know too. Premiered on ESPN yesterday. It's available on ESPN Plus right now. Long Gone Summer, 30 for 30. I love any of these 30 for 30 documentaries, honestly. But this sounds so interesting. Such a huge time for that, and it's nice to see that being commemorated in this documentary of just what that was then. And AJ, I want to thank you so much for joining us here on the show to talk about it.
Sure. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
You too. AJ Schnack right there, director of Long Gone Summer, ESPN 30 for 30 documentary, available right now on ESPN Plus. All right, continuing on here with the show. Need to get a quick break in because we've got Drew Prindle with awesome tech you can't buy yet coming back next. Stick around back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Again, thanks for joining us wherever you are. Hit that subscribe button that we get the notifications when we do go live here with the show. And right now, it is time for another edition of Awesome Tech You Can't Buy Yet, as we are joined by Drew Prindle to talk about some crowdfunding campaigns that are out there that Drew has scoured the internet for. Drew, hello, and which one do we want to start off with here first?
All right, we got to start off with this dog collar, this dog leash thing. It's amazing. Hold on a second. I've forgotten the name and I don't have it here in front of me. The Go-Go leash. This thing is
leash.
It just basically makes you want to throw away any other dog leash that you might have. So it's all of the awesome technologies and little modern conveniences that you've ever seen in a dog leash before, but then it takes it to a whole different level. So it's got all of the standard stuff like it's got a spot for you to hook the leash onto. It's got poop bag storage. It even has a flashlight on it, but that stuff has already existed in previous dog leashes, right? So this thing has, on top of that, it's also got a water storage compartment with like a little bladder and then a little like fold out tray that you can fill up with the water so your dog can drink out of it. It also has training mode. So it's got these sounds that you can activate. It's got like, I think 6 different settings. So you can, and it does this through like an electronic speaker system or like a whistle or whatever. And the cool thing about it is it's not actually transmitting it from the leash module that you're holding. It transmits it to their collar that the dog is wearing. So it can activate it from super far away, and you don't have to worry if there's like, other noises happening that the dog won't hear it. It'll be on their neck. So there's like very little chance that they just won't hear it. But yeah, wow, it's absolutely decked out. They've thought of everything. So if you have one dog or a bunch of dogs, definitely look into this thing.
And $59 is actually way less than I thought it would actually be. So that's it was started out with $5,000 goal. It's currently, as of this moment, about $39,000. So yeah, definitely people want this. 39 days to go on it. Yeah, that's pretty amazing, actually. So, funded in just 8 minutes, I guess is what they're saying.
Unsurprising,
so the Go
right?
Leash. Right? So that is one of them for awesome tech you can't buy yet. Let's go on to our next one. Which one you want to hit?
Let's talk about the QBO2, this laser engraver. So as you could probably guess from the name, it's the second generation of this laser engraver thing, and they basically went back to the drawing board and tried to make it slimmer and more compact than ever. And as you can see, they achieved that. I don't know if you've seen laser engravers before. They come in a pretty massive variety of shapes, sizes, and configurations, but this is hands down the slimmest and sleekest looking one I've ever seen. Usually they look like they're really cobbled together. Some of them look like 3D printers. So the laser module is kind of attached to this big box that takes up a bunch of space, and it's very clearly a DIY fabrication device. But this thing looks not like that at all. It's extremely polished, and I honestly wouldn't mind having it on just like a countertop in the living room, the office, wherever you want it. It looks sharp as hell, and it does everything that a normal laser engraver does. So in addition to engraving stuff in metal, it can also cut wood up to, I think it's 5 millimeters. It can also cut leather and acrylic and a bunch of other things. So it's just a really nice tool to have around if you're a maker or even a small business owner and you want to make leather bits like you can see in the video here. But yeah, just really, really cool technology, and finally a good-looking package, which I haven't seen before.
That's pretty cool. It kind of does all of that in one. Now I'm just thinking about all the things I'd want to laser engrave, which would be everything. But that is right now. So it's got a couple of different levels you can fund it at, but like you said, that's pretty utilitarian. It covers a lot of different things. That's the QBO 2 laser cutter and metal engraver for awesome tech you can't buy yet. And then we have the third one here, which is some kind of a vacuum and mop. Can you tell us about this?
Yeah. So I love this thing because of the future that it points towards. So what it is a Roomba-style robotic vacuum. But it's basically what these guys have done is packed in a bunch of other smart home features to make it more of a Swiss Army knife kind of household robot. So it's a vacuum cleaner, but it also does mopping. So you can fill it with water and it'll mop hardwood floors. Which, granted, you can already get that in existing robo-vacuum, Roomba combinations or whatever. Mopping and sweeping have kind of been combined. But one thing that this thing does have that I haven't seen in any other robotic vacuum is it has an HD camera and a depth sensor in it that not only allows it to avoid poop and puddles of pee or whatever that might be on your floor and prevent itself from smearing them all over, it can also use those things for intruder detection. There's specifically an app in there that allows it to monitor your door, and it acts as a security system, which is amazing because I just love this idea of packing all of your smart home devices into your robot vacuum so that your Roomba basically becomes the household servant. It's got Alexa in it. It's got everything that you could ever need. That's the platform. I love that vision of the future.
Yeah, it's a little bit unnerving that it's. I like the idea that that's a home security as well, but I'm just picturing somebody modifying it with some kind of weaponry on it. But nonetheless,
I think they would need to do that. They would definitely need to modify it and get a taser gun built into it or something like that. Because what intruder is gonna be oh God, the vacuum sees me, I better run. Nobody. You're gonna need pepper spray bullets or a taser gun. That's my recommendation to you too, Phil.
So there it is, the Lucy AI home robot, all-in-one robot, vacuum, and mop with intruder detection, all packed into one. So the goal was $7,000. It's now at $38,000. So definitely people want that. It's got 3 days to go, and you can follow along too at Digital Trends for all of these that Drew just brought up. Every one of them. The Go-Go leash, I want that. But that's all stuff you can check out there at Digital Trends for awesome tech you can't buy yet, where Drew every week scours the internet for these crowdfunding campaigns to make you aware of them. Drew, as always, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Drew Prindle right here on Digital Trends Live. All right, we've got one more thing for you here on the show today. We're going to be running a video here next where we've got Riley Wynn, our own Riley Wynn, talking about tech for businesses reopening during the pandemic, something that applies to, well, not only people who are business owners, but also those of us who could be going to these businesses. What is going on with that? How's the tech angle work for it? So we've got that right now for you. So here it is on Digital Trends
As
Live.
we continue to live in a world with coronavirus, nearly every state is taking steps to return to normal. Businesses that suffered major losses during shelter in place are able to reopen again. And when they do, it won't be business as usual. But what does that actually mean? And most importantly, will it be safe? This is how restaurants and stores will reopen during the pandemic. I'm Riley Wynn with Digital Trends, and this is What Comes Next, where we highlight the potential of technology to get us back to business and back to life. Do you remember what it was like to go to your favorite restaurant with friends and family? Even with states opening businesses back up, we still won't be able to eat the way we're used to. But technology is giving us some creative alternatives. Who doesn't like sushi? It's both a meal and a handcrafted art form, but that handcrafted part could make some customers nervous. That's where robots come in. Maki makes sushi-making robots that not only speed up preparation, but also reduce the human interaction. The robots can make rice sheets, rice balls, and cut sushi rolls. Sushi chefs have a special craft robotics can't entirely replace yet. But until things are back to completely normal, your next California roll may be made and served up by a robot. Robots aren't just making sushi for us now. They're making coffee too. A handful of cafes, like this one in South Korea, are using robotic baristas and servers to aid in social distancing. Joe lovers can first place their order through a kiosk, and then a robotic arm behind the counter starts making your coffee. The arm then hands off the drink to an autonomous serving robot that uses self-driving tech to deliver the order to you and your friends at your table. The system can make up to 60 different types of coffee and can complete an order of 6 drinks in about 7 minutes. No human interaction needed at all, so say goodbye to misspelt names on your coffee cup. Research shows germs can live on some surfaces for a few days, so your waiter may not be handing out any physical menus for the foreseeable future. Some restaurants are boosting up their websites and updating their online menus so that you can pull up the menu on your phone. This way you can still enjoy a meal at your favorite restaurant while minimizing your risk. In anticipation of reopenings, Chipotle has released a bunch of new features on its app that replicate the assembly line experience you're used to seeing in the restaurant. You can customize your meal to the finest detail as if you were talking to one of the employees. More pinto beans? Swipe right. Less chicken? Swipe right. Want guac? Swipe right. And yes, it's still extra. Restaurants are also entertaining the idea of automats, a restaurant of the future idea straight out of the 1950s. These are locker-type systems where diners can pick up meals without interacting with anyone. In the modern automat, you order your food beforehand, and once it's ready, you either get a text or go into the restaurant and scan your smartphone to unlock the locker with your food. It's like the Amazon locker of restaurants. If you choose to eat in the restaurant, the locker would light up in different colors throughout your order. Red once you've placed it, yellow once it's 2 minutes away from being ready, and green once it's done. Temperature scanning is already being used in large places like airports, but it can also help keep people safe while dining out. Companies are exploring adding temperature scanning to employee time clocks. This way, when the employee comes into work, before they punch in, it can tell if the employee is safe to work. If not, the system can send an alert to the manager to make the appropriate adjustments. Restaurants are also repurposing metal detectors to check the temperatures of guests. At Brooklyn Chop House, customers walk through the scanner to see if their temperature is above 99.6 degrees Fahrenheit. If it is, the customer will be motioned by an employee to another scanner that measures temperatures at the wrist. If it is still above 99.6 after a second scan, the customer will be asked to leave. Temperature scanning is becoming a norm for not only restaurants, but other industries like retail as well. Walmart and Amazon facilities across the country have started to scan their employees' temperatures when arriving to work, and other businesses are adopting the tech inside these temperature kiosks. They use thermal imaging to scan temperatures, and an agent at a remote desktop oversees all of this information to adhere to the FDA guidelines, making sure employees and shoppers are safe. If and when we get to a point where we don't need temperature checks, these kiosks can still be used to monitor staff changes, assist employees with their HR needs, distribute work equipment, and interview potential employees. Retailers aren't stopping at temperature checks. They're using tech in a variety of ways to help keep shoppers safe. Supermarket giant Kroger recently announced that it would be using technology called Q-Vision to limit in-store traffic. This eliminates having an employee hand count and play gatekeeper for how many people can come into a store. Q-Vision uses infrared sensors and predictive analytics to monitor the flow of customers in and out. Others are using spatial technology to practice safe social distancing. Retail services company Indime is working on a device called Smart Dome. It looks like a normal dome security camera, but can track shoppers in real time and alert customers when they're getting too close to one another. In the retail space, eyewear company Warby Parker has implemented virtual try-ons. Within their app, while browsing for frames, you can virtually try them on using AR. You can swipe right or left to try on different pairs of frames. You can change the colors and look at the camera from many different angles to make sure you like the look and fit of them. Post-lockdown, cash may no longer be king. Dollar bills are a well-known petri dish for germs. Many stores across the nation are no longer accepting cash payments for the time being. And even your credit or debit card can carry germs as well. Companies in the past have been resistant to implementing forms of contactless payments because it's expensive to put into place. But many stores are now encouraging and amping up their use of contactless payment to help customers feel at ease when shopping. Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, and many other forms of tap and pay and mobile wallets could become the new norm of shopping. Things are going to look a little different until we're back to life as we once knew it. Technology can help us feel a little bit better about shopping and going out to our favorite restaurants. In the meantime, be safe and support your local businesses. On our next episode, we'll take a look at how gyms and salons will use tech to keep you safe. This is what comes next. Until next time, I'm Riley Wynn with Digital Trends, and thanks for watching.
All right, thank you to Riley Wynn right there. So we've got all kinds of videos up for you to take a look at just in association with the pandemic and tech in general. And I thank everybody for joining us here for this show, Digital Trends Live, here live every single weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. Tomorrow on the show, we've got John Velasco for another smart home segment talking about the Logitech Circle View. He's got a review of that, and that is for a privacy-focused Logitech camera. So we've got that. We've also got Rosie Okamara, who's a YouTube creator and a voice actor and a musician and a prankster. She's going to be on the show in association with our weekly partnership with Full Screen Media. So that's just a little bit of what tomorrow's show is. So like I said, hit that subscribe button, then you get the notifications when we do go live. And I'm Greg Nibbler. Thanks for joining us. I'll be right back here tomorrow with another edition of Digital Trends Live.